So, Gran Turismo 7 has now been out for just over a year, and to say that it's been a tumultuous time for the franchise would be putting it lightly. From the hype preceding the game's release to the perhaps somewhat more disappointing reality, it's time to have a retrospective look at GT7 in order to see what the state of play is now. And what better place to start than from the beginning, because much of the discourse surrounding GT7 stems from the expectations people had building up to the game's release. We were promised the past, the present, and the future of Gran Turismo all in one. But what did we actually get? Most of the content from the previous title Gran Turismo Sport was carried over, plus a decent helping of new cars and tracks, as well as the welcome return of proper tuning parts and customization. In fact, the customization was a particular highlight, being more in-depth than ever before. But most importantly, a career-based progression system returned after its absence in GT Sport, albeit in a new form, the Gran Turismo Cafe. A slightly gimmicky idea, sure, but that is GT7's campaign mode, revolving around completing races to attain certain categories of cars and therefore build your collection. However, this is where the flaws start to present themselves. Firstly, and quite simply, there just weren't enough races. With the 39 cafe menus comprising of 3 races each, reviewers and publications who had early access to GT7 were essentially completing what was supposed to be the game's career mode before the rest of us had even had a chance to play it for ourselves. And when we did, we found out that you could indeed do it in the space of a couple of days. It felt more like a tutorial than a proper bona fide career experience. A far cry from the expansive mode of, say, Gran Turismo 4 that many fans were expecting then. The new progression system, however, did bring about with it some familiar frustrations, namely the AI's incompetence, coupled with the chase the rabbit race format, which was designed to compensate for it. You start at the back every time and hope to win or grab a podium by the end of the race, in order to secure the vehicle you need for your collection. I'm loath to rant too much in one go because, as I've been on the record as saying multiple times previously, I do enjoy GT7 overall, and I want to acknowledge one reason why some of these things are such a shame. Because by and large, the car themselves are lovely to drive. As usual, Polyphony have pretty much nailed the balance between simulation and controller accessibility that you'd expect from a Gran Turismo game. It also goes without saying that the visual detail is second to none right now. You do want to own and drive the game's 400 plus cars, but unfortunately the bean counters have made that very difficult indeed. And I think it's time now to address the elephant in the room, isn't it? And the main reason why people review bombed the game a few weeks after its release, tanking its aggregate score from around a 7 to a low of 1.8. The game economy and microtransactions. Because the meagre career mode wasn't the only obstacle to earning money in-game, the payouts for the races themselves were pitiful. Early on, players identified the single event to earn money most efficiently, a rally event at Fisherman's Ranch, to which Polyphony's response to that was reducing the payout for certain events, including that aforementioned rally race. That came as part of one of the game's first updates that just poured salt in the wound really, considering that patch was intended to remedy the day-long server outage the game just experienced. Ouch. And let's not forget that GT7 requires an internet connection in order to save progress, so for that day-long period the game was basically rendered unplayable. But wait, it gets worse. A statement was also issued by Gran Turismo series producer Kazunori Yamauchi, justifying the reduced payouts for races by saying that it was a move to deter players from grinding and repeating the same race over and over again. But surely that wouldn't work, it would just cause players to find the next best race to grind, but for even less reward. With several cars in the legendary dealership fetching 20 million credits, the payouts simply make 0 sense. It's all the more baffling why it's so difficult when the game was supposed to be focused on collecting cars. Or it would be if it wasn't for those microtransactions that the game economy seemingly pushed people into purchasing. I'm not sure to what extent that worked because personally, I haven't bought a single one and just skipped out on earning certain cars as a result. But regardless of its efficacy, It doesn't take a genius to see the intention there. Now, this isn't a problem I'm solely going to put on Polyphony, as I expect it's probably the work of some pesky bean counters at Sony, applying the pressure to rinse players of every last penny they can. Whatever the case though, it's really not good enough, especially when their very existence was hidden to reviewers who had early access to the game. Microtransactions were completely hidden until the game's proper release. Shady stuff. We're living in an economic crisis, I don't need one in my bloody racing game as well. I digress. That was then, this is now. Have things gotten any better in the world of GT7? And the short answer is, yes. Payouts were adjusted for the better this time around in April of last year, following on from that controversy I've just detailed. In November we finally got the ability to sell cars, and we've had a regular stream of updates to add more vehicles to the game, which for the most part have been smart additions and things players actually want, like the fan favourite Suzuki Escudo Pikes Peak or the new C8 generation Corvette. Some more events have also been added periodically, along with the occasional new track, to keep things fresh. Of course we could always ask for more, but at least the updates have been consistent. While some irksome things still remain, like the clunky UI, which is something Gran Turismo games normally excel at, the outlook for the future is definitely more bright than it once was all those months ago. Problems do still remain with servers and the still broken split screen mode, but overall there has been a concerted effort to actually improve the game and listen to the feedback of the players. So couple that with the recently added PSVR 2 support and the rollout of the Sophie AI technology to combat another major criticism, it must be said that for the future of Gran Turismo, the only way is up. Probably. But that's going to be it from me. Please let me know what you think in the comments and how your thoughts and feelings have evolved over the game's release and even before that, relative to your expectations. That's going to be it for this video. Thank you very much for watching,